Palms getting sweaty in North Texas. Whether stud pass rusher Micah Parsons will play when Dallas opens its season in Philly for the first time since 1970. Not the first time contract drama has descended on the star. New head coach Brian Schottenheimer says he spoke at length with his team star.
Mike and I had a long conversation. Probably talked for an hour about a lot of different things and addressed a number of different issues and things like that. And at this point, I'm going to keep that between he and I. But we had a very, very good conversation. At the end of the day, as soon as he can get out there, that's great. But again, there'll be a ramp up plan for him. And when he lines up out there to play, do I think he would play 75 plays in every play? Probably not. I don't think that that's real. But I do think that he can be very disruptive, like we all know.
We welcome in Louis Riddick as we continue to try to make sense of this situation in Dallas. Louis, the last time we saw Micah Parsons, he was laying down on a medical bench during their final preseason game. So what are the Cowboys if Micah isn't out there week one?
Look, they're severely compromised. There's really no two ways about that. And when you're going up against one of the best offensive lines in all of football, in particular at the tackle positions where Micah really likes to feast and come off the edge and really try to wreak havoc, although they move him all over the place. Look, when you're going up against guys like Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson, you better have your heavy hitters out there. And here you see it, Micah going one-on-one with Lane and compressing the pocket on the pass rush in a third down situation. That's what he's paid to do. He's an impact player. And if you're going up against the defending Super Bowl champions, you don't have your number one impact player on defense. I mean, what other word can you use? Severely compromised, severely limited, handicapped? I mean, what word do you want to use? This is a situation that has gotten so far beyond, I think, what any of us thought it would ever become, given his importance to the football team, that now you just sit there and shake your head and you just kind of like wake up every morning going, what's the headline going to be today? What kind of nonsense is going to come out of Dallas today concerning this homegrown, young, in his prime, dominant pass rusher who's laying on training tables during preseason games with a back injury, supposed back injury. It's amazing that we're even here.
I mean, his impact has truly been felt with the Dallas Cowboys. Since Parsons' debut, the Cowboys' defense leads the league in expected points added per play when he's on the field and when they rank dead last when he's off the field. So they're way better with him. Now, the teams finalized their 53-man rosters yesterday, and the Browns are now down to 3 quarterbacks. Dillon Gabriel listed as a backup, Shedeur Sanders as number 3. Is there even a path for Shedeur to be able to get to the starter position this year?
Not without injury and or some kind of severe underperformance on the part of Joe Flacco and then Dillon Gabriel. I just don't see it. I mean, it's unfortunate for everyone who was a Shedeur Sanders fan and feels as though, he was someone who was drafted below what ultimately his skill level represented in college. But that's just the way it goes. Again, I said it during draft night that the league has spoken well. The preseason has played itself out now. Joe Flacco's number 1. Dillon Gabriel, when he got his opportunities, really did show that he is deserving of being a backup quarterback that potentially could ascend to become a starter. And Shedeur showed some great things too, albeit in his last performance it wasn't his best outing. But I just don't see him now, given that everyone, assuming everyone else remained healthy, that being Flacco and Dillon, I just don't see him having a clear path to become the number 1 quarterback again, unless somebody gets hurt or unless people just absolutely just drop the ball when their opportunities arise. I just see him being, so far this year, being a
Kenny Pickett traded to the Raiders, so Dillon Gabriel moves to number 2 in the depth chart.
Yeah.
When you look at the 3rd round pick, what are your expectations about what he can do?
Well, being the QB2 is deserved. It's deserved because of the way that he played on tape, obviously coming off of the 3rd round draft pick by them. I think the number one thing that stood out was how fast he played. He would move so efficiently and so quickly with his progressions, and the ball would come out to really, in many ways, help offensive linemen. Look how quickly this happens. That front side backer is going to blitz and trigger. And then as the quarterback, you want to essentially replace where that linebacker is leaving from. That tight end's got a 10-yard hook. It's 3rd and 10. It has to be in between those 2 second-level defenders. 2 seconds, the ball's coming out of his hands before that tight end is looking for the football, and you put it on his left shoulder to pull him away from that backer. That's NFL speed, that's NFL windows, that's NFL timing. Bottom of the screen, it's what we call a sail concept, but it's really that corner route that's going to be thrown at about the 5-yard line. 1, 2, 3, balls coming out in 2.3 seconds, and it's getting layered over and underneath guy. But before that last level defender, perfectly. So it's not only accuracy with the football, but anticipation alongside of it. So preseason, yes, but just the speed that he played with, I think warranted being QB2, and the arm strength that was a little bit surprising. If you're the Browns, you feel comfortable if he has to play.
Interesting quarterback room. When Joe Flacco made his NFL debut, Dillon Gabriel was 7. Shedeur Sanders was 6.
I was going to say, older than I thought. Older than I thought.
Boys and Jerry Jones, they're still no closer to a deal. But all of the stuff we're hearing out of Dallas, whether it's from Dak Prescott or Brian Schottenheimer, Dallas Cowboys head coach, is that Micah Parsons is going to be out there week 1. They're very confident that Jerry and Micah are going to have cool heads here. They're going to get to the table and figure this out before the start of the season. And part of the conversation surrounding this is the behavior that we saw from Micah Parsons over the weekend in the Cowboys preseason game. He was eating nachos in the tunnel. He was talking to Atlanta Falcons fans when they were saying, come to Atlanta, and he's saying, call me. He was laying on the medical table, maybe taking a little snooze. And Brian Schottenheimer, of course, head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, talked about the conversation he had with Micah after that game about his behavior.
Mike and I had a long conversation, probably talked for an hour about a lot of different things and addressed a number of different issues and things like that. And at this point, I'm going to keep that between he and I. But we had a very, very good conversation.
This is a very tough spot for Brian Schottenheimer to be in. Even though he's been in that Cowboys ecosystem, it's his first time as a head coach. He's trying to establish a different culture. And while he's doing that, his best player and his owner are at odds. They're publicly feuding. And his best player may not be available to him in the first game of the season, a game that you certainly want to set the tone, especially against the defending Super Bowl champions. And you want to have that conversation with Micah about his behavior and about being there for the team in various ways. But also you understand that he's responding to what the owner is doing publicly. So I don't really know how Brian Schottenheimer finds a win here, Courtney.
He's the ultimate rock stuck between, what is the phrase?
A rock and a hard place?
Rock and a hard place. My brain's misfiring this morning. But no, it's true. I mean, he says something in support of his player, he looks one way. He says something not in support of Micah Parsons, he looks like he's siding with the owner. Like, he can't win. He can't win in any of this. So I think clearly the situation that he's being put in among any first-year head coach is the hardest of any first-year head coach. And that includes someone like Aaron Glenn, who's got to reset the culture of a losing Jets team and do it with a bridge quarterback. Brian Schottenheimer can't come out a winner in any of this because either way, it's going to get, like, what he says is going to get skewed. Now, obviously, him saying he expects Micah Parsons to be out there week 1 is because you have to look forward. You cannot look at the the intermediate time of, look, he's not on the field right now. He's not practicing. He's waiting for a contract. Like, you have no choice but to start thinking ahead to that Eagles game, which is 1 week from tomorrow. Like, they don't have time. And Micah Parsons, frankly, doesn't have time to keep dragging this thing out, which is why it's going to get dragged out even further. He doesn't. What is he going to come back Monday or Sunday whenever they start their prep, their actual week 1 prep for the Philadelphia Eagles? There's just no way. So the only thing I take out of that actually, like, carries a little weight is that there clearly was something with the antics that the Dallas Cowboys view them as antics, which I don't think you'll see any more of from Micah Parsons if he respects the coaching staff. Like, to me, you only have that conversation, an hour-long conversation, to take the pulse on what your star defensive player is feeling, if you feel like he was out of line for doing any of the things they did, which I frankly don't think it was that big of a deal in Atlanta the other night.
I don't either. But if you're the coach, you still want to have that conversation with him. And Courtney, I want to go back to what you were just talking about Micah Parsons not only getting the deal done and being available to go out and play, but how much time does he need to get ready? Because we're talking about somebody who hasn't been practicing, who needs to who's dealing with a back issue, and he needs to get up to speed as soon as possible. Brian Schottenheimer, how much time does Micah Parsons need to get ready for week 1?
Yeah, well, I think, again, that's always the story, it's different for everybody. The fact he's been here gives him a little bit of a leg up on the fact that he knows the defense, and that could be a completely different story if he wasn't here. But at the end of the day, I think once we want him out there as soon as possible. And when he's feeling up to it and all those things is a big factor into it. But every day that he can get out there and get reps would be great. But I do think very strongly that him being around has helped. Him doing some of the walkthroughs and things like that does help. There's communication. There's signals that come from the sideline. There's communication from player to player that he's getting all those things. But the best way to get good at football is to play football. And so I would say as soon as possible would be the desired effect.
And Victoria, that is certainly something that we're monitoring as well. Not only if and when a deal gets done, but when the deal gets done, does Micah Parsons have enough time to get up to football speed to be ready to play versus the Eagles?
I mean, not versus the Eagles. I would be shocked, honestly. I mean, he hasn't practiced all summer with the team as he's been going through the hold-in regarding all this drama. It's a situation where, as we heard Shedeur say yesterday, his back is tight, like he's dealing with that. It's not safe and it's not smart if you want the integrity and the health of your team and your star player to just be thrown into this. And also, I don't see this working itself out in a week. Maybe I'm delusional, but I think the Dallas Cowboys are a bit delusional. I think Jerry Jones and Schottenheimer, unfortunately, is in, as Courtney said, the rock and the hard place, because at the end of the day, Jerry Jones is his boss, is writing the checks so he can take care of his family. So he has to play neutral, but to sort of a side that appeases the higher ups, that isn't necessarily giving into the antics, which I agree with you both. I don't think was bad. I think if anything, Micah has been more of the grown up in all of this than Jerry Jones has, which says a lot. I don't know how the NFL is tough to play in when healthy, when conditioned, and tough to be really good at. Micah Parsons is also not going to want to show up and be bad either if in that situation. And we've clearly shown and seen through what we saw the other day where he showed up eating nachos. He was laying on the training table. His back is tight. He's not planning to suit up, and I think they're a bit delusional to think that that's going to happen.
So to piggyback off that, should we just not assume, or should we assume that Micah won't be out there week one, even if a deal gets done? Here is our ESPN NFL analyst, Damian Woody, on Get Up.
You have to be in football shape. The only way you are in football shape is by doing football things, by being in pads, by practicing. He hasn't done any of that. You talked about it, he reported. Yes, he reported, but he's not doing any of the football activities that his other teammates are doing. And so by putting him out there, if this thing somehow gets resolved the next day or so, you put Michael Parsons out there, you run the risk of my former teammate, Darrelle Revis, who had a holdout. He signed. The first game he played, he got injured. Do we really want that for Michael Parsons? This is not about one game, not about the opening game. This is about a 17-game slate that you want Michael Parsons available for.
And Courtney, this is just one of the many parts of this that I can't understand. I can't get myself inside Jerry Jones's head on this. Not only are you consistently costing yourself more money by waiting to get these deals done, but now you're putting yourself and your organization, Micah Parsons, and that team in a position where, A, he's probably not going to play in the first game of the season, an important game to set the tone for the season with a first-time head coach, and, of course, against the Super Bowl champions. But he's likely not going to be able to play because he's not going to be up to speed because of the path that you've taken these negotiations down.
There's something in the NFL world called a ramp up, which means getting into conditioning, getting into football shape, like D Wood was just talking about there. That isn't just like a day or two thing. Like, it takes sometimes a week. Sometimes it takes even longer than that. And if he really is dealing with back tightness, he's got to work through that. Like, here's what, like, we need to talk about the schedule a little bit. So yesterday was cut down day. Most teams in the NFL today or tomorrow is the final practice before they give guys the weekend off, and then they jump right into their week one prep. Their week one game is in Philadelphia next Thursday. So barring this deal getting done today, and him having the weekend to, granted, he wouldn't be with his teammates in any of this for the most part because they're probably done after today. I don't know exactly what their schedule is, but they've come back. Most times for a Thursday game, you're going to be coming back on Sunday going into week one. That's historically how it's been the last couple of years for teams that are starting off the NFL season on Thursday night. There's not enough time. Like, even if you get the deal done today, you're still getting an unconditioned football player out there. Sure, he's been in meetings. He, as Brian Schottenheimer said, knows this defense. Let's not forget, it is a new defense. Matt Eberflus just got there. Has he been in Dallas before? Yes. Was he in Dallas with Micah Parsons? No. Not in the previous, since 2020, he was in Indianapolis at that point. So let's point out some more things here that absolutely factor into his readiness. He won't be ready. Like, even if the deal gets done today, which then, of course, would be like, hey, you got a week. You have to be out there. I understand the optics of that. He still won't be ready. And that's a problem, because why would you make this massive investment in a player who Jerry says he wants to invest in, but there's a war of words going on? You make a massive investment in this player, and then you put him immediately at risk of getting hurt. That is not smart business, and it's not good for the player. It's not good for the organization. It's not good for the defense, the whole thing.
We also don't even know if he even wants to be there, which clearly he doesn't. And what is that going to do if he's suiting up out there and he doesn't want to be there after everything that's gone on?
You mean if he gets the deal?
Yeah, but if it's
I think if he gets the money, he feels like he won. No,
if he, well, I don't know, because at this point, I don't know if it's repairable, which that's a whole other can of worms we don't need to open up. But if Jerry tries to franchise tag him or stronghold him, or he's kind of getting to a point where he doesn't have a choice, or he's kind of forced to do so, is that the player you want going out there too?
Well, none of that stuff would take place. Franchise tag would be an off-season thing. We know what he said. And Victoria, I'm with you. When you read his comments on that tweet, like from August 1st, where he put the notes app, where he's like, I don't want to be here. I read that as a player screaming out, I do want to be here. I just want you to see my value and pay me for what I'm worth. But if he signs that deal, whenever it happens, because I think we all think you can eventually strong arm your way into getting what you want. The leverage is going to be him sitting out, pulling a Chris Jones, sitting out the opener. They lose. They look at their defense. They're like, hey, we're not really any good without this guy.
Right.
That's his leverage right there. But if he signs that deal, and it's going to not be a short-term deal if he signs it, he's going to sign it because he wants to be there. And I don't think he ever really wanted to go anywhere in the first place.
He grew up a Cowboys fan. He just wants his money. He just wants respect. You're right, Courtney. I wish it was, I don't want to be here and I want to move on, but I think that statement was just a negotiating ploy.